Joining us now, one of my favorites, Roger Stone. I thought he was going to be in studio here in New York with me. I'm so depressed. I even, I put on a nice dress, got the shoes, rocking the makeup, everything, and then I find out Stone's in Florida. The best-selling author, of course, author of the New York Times bestseller. Well, so many bestsellers over the years, but The Man Who Killed Kennedy, one of my favorites. Clinton's War on Women, Bush Crime Family, Making of the President, 2016, more apt, how Donald Trump orchestrated a revolution. He joins us now. Roger, how are you, my dear?
I am so sorry that I can't join you in person. I could have flashed the Nixon tat. Would have been quite a morning.
Okay, can you comment on my view that the president seems completely in his element, even though, of course, a lot of these people don't like him? He doesn't seem even bothered by that. People say, oh, he's so insecure. He doesn't like him. People don't like him. He seemed fine. To me, I'm watching these videos of him and all these world leaders. Seems like he's having a good time as far as I can tell.
Yeah, he's a larger-than-life figure. He's completely comfortable in his own skin. He's never had any self-doubts about his career or the decisions he's made. In many ways, he's a giant among pygmies. When you look at some of these tin pot dictators that he has to deal with.
Well, I love seeing him sitting next to Putin. We heard that soundbite coming in where he said we have some good talks, and we basically expressed our respect for one another, and we hope we can work together. I mean, isn't that what the United States wants? We want better relationships with all the great powers of the world, and we want to call them on the carpet when we have to, and if we need to use leverage to get our way with them, that's what we're going to do, and that's what they try to do to us. And so there's no genius about what we're doing with Russia. We want something from them. They probably want something from us. Question is, can we do a deal? Maybe, maybe not. But at least Donald Trump's trying.
Well, I think like President Nixon, in comparison to his predecessors, Johnson and Kennedy, Trump believes in détente. Trump thinks hard-headed negotiations with the Russians are preferable to thermonuclear war. And I think he is a peacemaker. I don't think he has any illusions about the Russian gulag or the fact that the Russians oppress Christians and Jews and gays and other native groups. He understands how corrupt their system is and why ultimately they will not succeed. But at the same time, I think he'd like to give peace a chance before we just move to, an expansion of the proxy war over Syria.
Well, I think that when we see the North Korea problem, and we just had a guest on who's a respected economist, who's conservative, and who likes Donald Trump very much. He said it's time to pull out of South Korea, get our troops home from Japan and South Korea, say, China, you want this? I guess you take it. Do you think that's the way to go? I just don't think that's in any way the direction we're going in here. But the question is whether we're going to be able to protect South Korea for much longer. We got 30,000 American troops there.
Well, look, I think it would be a mistake to assume that the president is in any way an isolationist. But I do think he's a non-interventionist, and I do think he understands the public policy and financial folly of the succession of endless wars we've had under the Bushes and the Clintons without being able to, specifically pinpoint what exactly our inherent national interest is before we send troops. I don't know whether Rex Tillerson and many of the Condoleezza Rice folks, at the State Department understand that there's a new sheriff in town and that we have a slightly different attitude. That doesn't mean he doesn't understand that there are bad people around the world. But, I think we're working on a new...
We have a bad connection, Roger. Are you walking around, my friend? Because we kind of have a bad connection. You were clear, and then you kind of went in and out, and I don't know, where are you?
Are we better now?
Yeah, we're better now, but you got to stay still, because we get a couple million people listening. We want to hear every word you have to say. Let's hear, this is Donald Trump from yesterday, talking about Barack Obama and what he did in terms of Russia meddling or did not do. during the election season last year. Let's listen.
Barack Obama, when he was president, found out about this in terms of if it were Russia, found out about it in August. Now, the election was in November. That's a lot of time. He did nothing about it. Why did he do nothing about it? He was told it was Russia by the CIA, as I understand it. It was well reported. And he did nothing about it. They say he choked. Well, I don't think he choked. I think what happened is he thought Hillary Clinton was going to win the election, and he said, let's not do anything about it. Had he thought the other way, he would have done something about it.
This was totally unnecessary. He stepped all over the message of what was one of perhaps the best speech he's given, a semi-historic speech that he gave later in the day. There was no need to answer any of this. He should have said, we're abroad now, we have other issues, the world is on fire, that we can handle all of this at home. He didn't add anything. He repeated the stuff. We understand why he doesn't want to.
Okay, we get it. We don't hear more. We get crowd hammer. We get crowd. Less is more. Crowd hammer sometimes. You got to cut these sound bites shorter, my friends. So crowd hammer's like, no, you shouldn't have done that. What's your take on this?
Krauthammer is incorrect. I mean, in fact, there was a presidential candidate in bed with Putin. There was a presidential candidate whose inner circle was making millions of dollars off of the oligarchs around Putin. There was a presidential candidate who was compromised and might have been blackmailed, but that candidate was Hillary Clinton. And whether it's the gas deal or the uranium deal or the bank deal, John and Tony Podesta were doing quite well off of Vladimir Putin and his little circle of wealthy friends. That is important because they have, in some Kafkaesque way, reversed the facts here. Oh, Trump was in bed with the Russians. No, Hillary was in bed with the Russians. That's the truth. And Obama knew it and therefore did nothing. The president is absolutely right.
Well, I think that this idea that, well, you shouldn't air dirty laundry between you and a former president when you're overseas. I mean, that kind of went out the window when Barack Obama attacked Donald Trump last year when he was on international trips. He called him ignorant and cavalier and actually laughed at him and talked about the danger he represented. So he was a sitting president trashing a Republican primary candidate who was the presumptive nominee at the time. And then goes around blaming, his people go blaming Donald Trump for the Russia thing. Well, what did he do? I think it's fine that he said that. I really do.
Well, look, all the old rules are out the window, and they have been for some time. For many, many years, presidents did not criticize their predecessors, period, no matter how much they may have disliked them. Believe me, Dwight Eisenhower had a low regard for John Kennedy, but he kept his mouth shut. That's all out the window now. We've seen Obama and others trashing their predecessors. And to his credit, George W. Bush was fairly circumspect for a while, and the other thing that might be because he was deeply in bed with the Clintons. But now you had the entire press corps wanting to raise the question of Russia and all the other domestic political issues while the president was in Poland. So if they're going to talk about it, why shouldn't the president talk about it?
And I think that the media now are going crazy because Donald Trump said we had a, quote, very good meeting with Vladimir Putin, that he had a very good meeting. And CNN commentators, national security experts, their correspondents are saying that, in fact, he has a relationship with Putin almost unlike any relationship he has with any other world leader, that it seems incredibly cordial, and that he goes out of his way not to criticize him. Now, what's the media's obsession with Russia? Solely focused on causing Trump trouble politically? What is it?
Well, first of all, they have to have some reason why they lost the election that was in the bag. Every one of their polls showed that Trump would lose. They never afforded him any chance to win. So if he won, it could not be because he ran a superior campaign. It could not be because of the superiority of his ideas. It has to be because the Russians did something illicit to steal it. Nonsense, of course. And then secondarily, on an ongoing basis, it's just an attempt to destabilize the president, to delegitimize him. I think people are getting very, very, very tired of it because there just is no beef. They just don't have anything tangible. My understanding now is that the focus has shifted from the president and his associates to the president's children. Well, there's no evidence the president's children colluded with the Russians to affect this election. They're grasping at straws. Have the Trump children met Russian businessmen and women? Yes, they have. That doesn't constitute collusion.
Well, the idea that anytime you bump into someone who ever had a relationship with somebody in the Russian government and you say more than hello, or even if you just say hello, that's now a discussion. It's just preposterous. The whole thing is ridiculous. I think, though, that it's fun, Roger, to hear people like Don Lemon yesterday talk about how, well, the president's not talking enough about American values. The whole speech was about American values: freedom, liberty, pro-life. It was incredible. But it's like he's going after the press, going after a former president, going after intelligence agencies. So he wasn't standing up for American values. That was the message.
Yeah, ridiculous. I understand that Stephen Miller worked with the president on this speech, which I thought was really excellent. I mean, it was Reagan-esque in its quality.
I agree. It reminded me. Yeah, it reminded me of President Reagan, and they despised him as well in Europe, and all the protests and all the things we saw in the 1980s with the Ronnie Ray gun. Remember all that? And they're hanging Reagan in effigy. I mean, this is par for the course. Roger, sorry I didn't get to see you. Enjoy sunny Florida and come back soon, okay?
All right. We'll talk to you soon. Many thanks.
All right. Great to talk to you, Roger. Roger Stone here on the Laura Ingraham Show. 855-40-LAURA. Stay with us.